Have you ever left a conversation feeling drained, your mood dampened, your spirits suddenly weighed down? Wondering why a short coffee chat or phone call left you exhausted, like you're carrying a ton of rocks? You might be encountering a certain type of person, the negative one. Not everyone rants, wails, or blames overtly. Some deplete you just by being around too much, complaining endlessly, or planting seeds of doubt, fear, and anxiety in your mind. Without protecting your energy, you risk losing your inner peace, an invisible but priceless asset. You can't control the world or change everyone around you, but you can absolutely control how much they affect you. In this video, I'll share 11 practical, profound, and quiet ways to preserve your energy against negative influences. These aren't quick fixes, but life principles to make you stronger, clearer, and calmer, no matter how chaotic the world gets. If you've ever felt worn out by others, this video is for you. To keep building a resilient inner life and safeguarding your strength, subscribe now to stay with us for what's next. Number 1, guard your peace like sacred ground. One thing most of us overlook daily is our inner peace. We protect our phones with cases, lock our homes, secure emails and bank accounts with passwords, yet leave our mental and emotional space wide open for anyone to enter, bringing whatever energy, positive or negative, without filter. Strangely, you might unconsciously let a stranger online, a whining colleague, or a relative who unloads their anger sway your mood and vitality. If you truly grasp how precious your peace is, you wouldn't let it be trampled so easily. Picture your inner peace as sacred ground, a space where only those you deem worthy and permit can tread. It's not a free-for-all where anyone can say anything. It's where you set firm boundaries. You have the right to limit contact with those who drain you. You can end a call when it spirals into endless negativity. You can choose not to instantly reply to messages that dump anger or gloom. This isn't selfishness, it's protection. Peace doesn't come from dodging hardship or shunning society. It comes from actively curating a mental environment where you decide what's allowed in and what's not. When you treat your inner strength as a finite resource, you stop squandering it on pointless talks, endless arguments, or one-sided relationships that only take, never give. Stoics grasped this thousands of years ago. Amid wars, politics, and injustice, they preserved an untouchable inner stillness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Retreat within to your sacred refuge, untouchable unless you allow it." This isn't escape, it's self-mastery. To live deeply and sustainably without burnout, you must learn to guard your own sacred ground. Every time you let someone rile you, unsettle you, or disrupt your calm, you lose more than time. You lose focus, clarity, and your life's rhythm. Each time you let negativity seep in, you forfeit energy better spent on creating, loving, or nurturing yourself. If this happens daily, you'll burn out unnoticed. That's why you must treat your peace like a priceless, invisible asset, setting rules to protect it. Start small. Review your daily schedule. Is there a meeting that always leaves you drained? A person you brace yourself to be polite with, secretly wishing to flee? A message thread you reread, only to feel confused, deflated, or angry? These are signs. You don't need to cut ties, but adjust. Limit time, topics, frequency, or their access to your energy. Remember, no one can breach your peace unless you open the gate. Learn to decline kindly, end chats gently, smile without agreeing, or step back without apologizing. These are acts of someone who values their vitality. With practice, you'll feel freer, no longer living to please others, but to protect your brightest self, where you think clearer, feel truer, and act wiser. If this resonates with your experiences, hit like to quietly vow, "I'll guard my inner peace as my most sacred ground." Share in a comment a moment you sacrificed peace for politeness, and the lesson learned. To keep exploring principles for shielding your energy in a turbulent world, subscribe for the next parts. Peace isn't luck, it's a choice. You can choose it every day. Number 2, don't attend every emotional battle. You're invited to one thing drains energy faster than overwork or sleeplessness: unnecessary emotional battles. These are disputes you're pulled into not to find truth, but to absorb someone's anger, defend their ego, or prove they're right. Negative people often wield emotions to drag you into their chaos, tossing out a sly jab, subtle criticism, or veiled provocation. If you're not vigilant, you'll react angrily, defensively, or by over-explaining. But there's a wiser strategy. Don't join every emotional fight you're invited to. This isn't weakness or cowardice. It's the wisdom of choosing where to spend your energy. Picture your mind as a quiet house. Others can bang on the door or shout outside, but you don't have to open it. You can glance through the window, smile, and walk away to live your life. Their anger, irritation, or baiting isn't your responsibility. Your responsibility is keeping your mental house from becoming a battlefield. An emotionally mature person doesn't need to win every argument. They know most disputes stem not from a desire to understand, but from defensiveness, unhealed wounds, or ego. The more you try to prove you're right, the deeper you sink into a mire where no one listens. Negative people don't need reasons to be upset. They just need someone to stay and soak up their discontent. You don't have to be that person. You can choose to walk away. Stoics call this emotional freedom, not being swept away by others' emotional waves. Epictetus said no one can anger you without your permission. You can face someone's rage and still hold inner calm. You don't need to match negativity with negativity or respond instantly. You can breathe, observe, and simply not react. That's a quiet strength true maturity brings. This takes practice. Our instinct is to react, counter insults, explain to the deaf, win arguments. But when you observe instead of respond, you'll see most battles aren't worth your time or energy. You don't need to address every negative comment, reply instantly to someone's displeasure, or take on their issues. Let them keep their problems. You keep your clarity. A simple, effective practice. When provoked, pause and ask, is this fight worth it? What am I fighting for? Am I building something or just trying to win? If the answer isn't compelling, walk away. No one forces you to stay. Emotional maturity lies in knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, when to engage, and when to withdraw. This isn't fleeing, it's choosing, and choosing is protecting. Refusing pointless emotional battles preserves your energy and self-respect. You don't stoop to bicker with those on a different wavelength. You don't waste time proving points to those unwilling to hear. You stand steady in a storm, not out of weakness, but because you're strong enough to know what's unworthy. If you've been sucked into a pointless argument only to realize it was a waste, hit like to remind yourself not to repeat it. Share in a comment a moment you chose silence and how it strengthened you. To keep learning to hold your mind steady in an emotionally turbulent world, subscribe for the next parts. Not every call to battle deserves your answer. You can choose peace, and that's the highest victory. Number 3, say no and don't explain it. One of the biggest reasons we feel drained, exploited, or exhausted isn't what others do. It's what we fail to refuse. We say sure when we don't want to, nod to avoid upsetting someone, or agree to dodge seeming selfish. Each time we deny ourselves to please others. Over time, this internal conflict brews quiet anger, a sense of violation, and eroded energy no one but us notices. That's why you need a skill school never taught, saying no clearly without justifying it. You're not obligated to please everyone, nor must you defend your refusal to make others comfortable. A kind no is enough. You don't owe anyone a lengthy breakdown of why you won't join, help, meet, or respond. Protecting your time, mental health, and energy doesn't require a trial to prove its validity. It demands only commitment and courage. Society often teaches us early that no is rude, cold, or defiant, while a reluctant yes signals kindness or generosity. But true kindness starts with honesty toward yourself. If you're not truthful about your feelings and limits, your kindness becomes silent sacrifice, leading to burnout. Eventually, you may turn irritable, distant, or detached without knowing why, because you've lived too long saying yes when you meant no. Negative people excel at making you feel guilty for declining. They use looks, tones, or veiled remarks to paint you as heartless or uncaring if you don't comply. But understand, everyone has the right to say no. An emotionally mature, healthy person respects that without demanding explanations. A simple rule: when saying no, skip qualifiers like because I'm busy, because I'm tired, or because I'm dealing with something, unless truly needed. Just say, I can't, or I don't want to join this time, or thanks, but I won't take that on. Clear, calm, no excuses. With enough practice, you'll notice something odd. People start respecting you more. They sense your boundaries. Those who can't accept them might not belong too close to you. Stoics taught that we have a right and duty to protect our inner life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Keep what's yours and let no one encroach." Each no to something misaligned is a yes to yourself, making space for what truly matters. You safeguard energy for growth, recovery, and living authentically. Reflect on last week. How many yeses did you say when you meant no? How many meetings, calls, tasks, or messages did you agree to just to avoid awkwardness? How did you feel after? Your answers reveal why you must retrain how you respond to requests. You can't do everything for everyone or be everywhere. Trying means you'll be absent from your own life. If you're caught in a cycle of over-explaining refusals, hit like to signal you're stepping out of it. Share in a comment a time you said no and felt liberated instead of guilty. To keep learning to live with boundaries, clarity, and inner authority, subscribe for the next parts. A timely no can save months of lost energy. True freedom begins with a clear, unapologetic no. Number 4, detach from their moods. There's a subtle exhaustion that doesn't come from overwork, but from carrying others' emotions. You start the day energized, but a frown, a harsh word, or someone's coldness shifts your mood. You wonder if you did something wrong. Try to read their mind or adjust to match them. The more you try, the deeper you're pulled into an emotional whirlwind you didn't create. That's when you need to learn to detach from others' moods. Detaching doesn't mean becoming callous. It means being awake enough to distinguish what's happening in them from what belongs to you. Negative people don't always shout. They may just carry a heavy, somber vibe. The danger is you can absorb their emotions as your own. If they're sad, you grow pensive. If they're angry, you feel anxious. If they're weary, you start feeling listless. Absorbing their mood doesn't prove empathy. It shows your emotional boundaries aren't strong enough. When you sit with someone angry, you don't need to rage too. Talking to someone disappointed doesn't mean you must feel worthless. Emotions are contagious, but with awareness, you can stop the spread within yourself. This protects you and prevents a chain reaction from dragging everyone down. A key principle: don't let others' emotions rewrite your inner script. A negative person's mood doesn't mean you're wrong or at fault. Their coldness doesn't make you blameworthy. Stoics taught you're only responsible for what you control. You can't control others' moods, emotions, or mental states, so don't try. Observe, empathize if you can, but don't take their baggage home as if it's yours. Practice emotional separation. When your mood shifts because of someone, pause and ask, is this feeling mine or am I absorbing theirs? This question reclaims your agency, giving you a moment to step back. If you realize you're mirroring their state, you can choose to let it go instead of carrying it all day. Another tip, notice your body language and voice around negative people. If you start speaking softly, tensing your shoulders, slouching, or forcing a smile, you're shrinking to match their mood. Breathe deeply, stand tall, speak slowly and clearly, keep your tone steady. You don't need to mimic them to show care. Your calm steadiness might be what they need, or the only thing you should hold to avoid being swept away. Remind yourself, you're not a dumping ground for others' frustrations. You can support or listen, but you're not their emotional trash can. If someone's persistent negativity harms you, you have the right to set distance. Compassion doesn't mean accepting everything. Care doesn't mean enduring endlessly. Sometimes the best way to love is to stay whole, so no one faces another drained soul. If you've ever lost your own emotions in someone else's storm, hit like to start detaching. Share in a comment a time you realized you were living their feelings and how you regained your inner calm. To keep learning to preserve your emotions amid a turbulent world, subscribe for the next parts. You weren't born to mirror others' moods. You were born to hold your own light, even if they're lost in darkness. Number 5, recognize energy vampires and walk away silently. Some people don't harm with overt actions or harsh words, but with their mere presence. They could be friends, family, colleagues, or partners. They don't wound you physically, but they leave you drained. After each interaction, you feel depleted, confused, or emotionally sunk without knowing why. This isn't random. It's a sign you're dealing with what psychologists call an energy vampire. Energy vampires aren't necessarily evil or overtly toxic. Often they carry unhealed pain, chronic dissatisfaction, or a constant sense of lack. They seek others to feed off their vitality. They complain endlessly without seeking change, demand relentless attention, or create scenarios where you feel guilty for not responding or helping. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. They don't want solutions, just your emotions, time, and strength. The clearest sign is a heavy feeling after contact. You don't feel connected, uplifted, or inspired. Instead, you're worn down. They may talk for hours, barely letting you speak. They dump their burdens on you, expecting you to carry them. They make you feel like a bad person for not helping enough. When you're exhausted, they turn it around, claiming you don't care. This isn't a healthy mutual relationship. It's emotional leeching. If you don't spot it early, you'll lose more than you realize. Stoics didn't name energy vampires, but they were clear about curating who enters your mental and personal space. Epictetus wrote that you don't have to let everyone into your inner world just because they're there. He urged guarding against pointless talks, endless gripes, or interactions that unsettle you. The best response isn't arguing or explaining. It's a quiet withdrawal. You don't need to say, "You're too negative," or announce, "I'm done." Simply stop fueling the connection. Reduce contact frequency. Don't reply to messages instantly. Avoid rehashing their same complaints. Don't try fixing their life if they're unready to change. Silence isn't punishment, it's a boundary. Sometimes it's the deepest act of self-love you can perform. Don't feel guilty for stepping back. If someone leaves you bleeding emotionally each time, you need to bandage the wound, not stay for more out of politeness. True friendships, family ties, or love don't consistently exhaust you. Closeness shouldn't feel like duty. Creating distance isn't abandonment. It's choosing to preserve your energy to live better for yourself and those you truly want to give to. If you've recognized an energy vampire in your life and found the courage to walk away silently, hit like to acknowledge your inner strength. If you're unsure how to break free from a draining relationship, share in a comment, and this community can support you. To keep learning to spot invisible but harmful influences on your mental life, subscribe for the next parts. Not everyone deserves your presence. Sometimes the bravest act is leaving in absolute silence. Number 6, control your inputs. You can't expect to maintain inner strength and clarity if you constantly absorb negative, chaotic, or disruptive energy without a filter. Just as junk food harms your body, unchecked inputs drain your mind. In today's information-driven world, what you consume is a form of energy. Without conscious selection, you become a victim of your own unfiltered intake. Look at your day. You wake up, grab your phone, and dive into social media. Posts filled with rants, drama-filled videos, negative news, scandals, economic crises, or sensational headlines. Before you even step out of bed, your mind is flooded with noise. You haven't spoken a word to yourself, yet the world is screaming in your head. How can you expect to stay peaceful? Controlling your inputs doesn't mean escaping reality or living in a bubble. It means choosing what's necessary and filtering out what's merely chaotic. A simple, powerful principle: treat your mind like you treat your body with clean food. You wouldn't eat trash daily, so why swallow mental junk without scrutiny? Every post you read, video you watch, or conversation you join leaves a mark on your mind. It shapes your thoughts, worldview, interactions, and self-perception. Constant exposure to comparison, competition, or boasting makes you feel inadequate. Endless, negative, angry news keeps you defensive. Mindless scrolling for entertainment steals focus and energy from what truly matters. Start simply, reset your phone's priorities. Curate your homepage, delete addictive apps, unfollow accounts that leave you drained or down. Follow those that inspire, educate, or heal. Instead of starting your day with Facebook or TikTok, try deep breathing, jotting down gratitude, reading a few pages, or embracing silence. Your day will feel different. Beyond social media, inputs come from people around you. Regular exposure to complainers, blamers, or gossipers clouds your clarity. You don't need to hate or cut them off, just reduce contact. Don't reply instantly, join their rants, or react to every word. Each response validates their influence over you. Your attention is a resource. Invest it selectively. Stoics taught that we become what we expose ourselves to daily. They didn't let their minds be swayed by crowd emotions or fleeting news. They kept their inner world clear by limiting what entered. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it doesn't make you better, don't let it in." It's a high but practical standard for peace in a noisy world. Create white space in your day, moments free of social media, news, or calls, just you and your thoughts. A space to recharge and hear your inner voice. Even 15 to 30 minutes daily without external input can restore energy lost unconsciously throughout the day. If you feel swept away by noise, hit like as a small step to reset. Share in a comment one change you'll make to how you consume information and what you hope to feel after. To keep learning to stay grounded, clear, and intentional in a world of endless inputs, subscribe for the next parts. You can't control everything around you, but you can always choose what enters your mind. Number 7, avoid the need to correct or convince. One of the subtlest traps draining your mental energy daily is the urge to correct others or convince them to think like you. It starts small. You see a false claim online and feel compelled to set it straight. A friend voices an opposing view, and you can't stay quiet without fixing it. A relative lives wrongly, and you feel duty-bound to change them. But the more you try to correct or persuade, the more exhausted and vulnerable you become, pouring energy into something beyond your control. People don't change because you're right. They change when they're ready. No one is swayed by logic they're not open to. Entering a conversation aiming to make them see not only pressures them, but burdens you with a task no one asked you to carry. This makes you irritable when they don't listen, disappointed when they react negatively, and drained from repeating truths no one values. Not every disagreement needs fixing. Not every differing opinion requires conversion. Mental maturity comes when you realize silence and letting go are often wiser. Dropping the need to be right in others' eyes restores your inner peace. You avoid endless clashes with stubborn egos or those who hear only to argue, not understand. Stoics taught focusing only on what's within your control. How you speak and choose your words is yours. Whether others understand, agree, or change is theirs. You can't force someone to wake up before they're ready. The more you push, the more they resist. Truth, even if correct, loses impact if shared at the wrong time. Good intentions, when forced, become pressure. There's profound peace in smiling at a misconception without correcting it, in hearing an opposing view while keeping your breath steady and gaze calm, in seeing ignorance and choosing distance over debate. This isn't giving up, it's preserving energy for worthier things. If you must argue to prove you're right, that rightness loses its value. You don't need to jump into every conversation, debate online, or speak up each time someone's wrong. Sometimes your silence affirms you won't let ignorance pull you into chaos. Save your energy for meaningful actions, receptive relationships, and spaces where sincerity is valued. You don't need to shout in a crowd to prove you're awake. Just keep living rightly. Reflect on the past week. How much time did you spend trying to align others with your views? How often did you leave a talk drained because someone was too stubborn? How many online comments sparked endless, futile arguments? If it's too much, it's time to let go. Not because you've lost, but because you're choosing clarity and protecting your inner calm. If you've ever fought to prove you're right only to end up exhausted, hit like for a gentle wake-up. Share in a comment a time you chose silence over rebuttal and how it brought peace. To keep learning to free yourself from needless battles, subscribe for the next parts. The energy spent arguing could fuel creation. Truth doesn't need shouting. It needs you to live it, quietly but firmly. Number 8, silence is your best shield. In a world where everyone rushes to speak, react, or assert their views, silence is almost a rebellious act. It's not retreat or weakness, but a display of inner control and deep understanding that words aren't always the best defense. Sometimes staying silent isn't about having nothing to say. It's about knowing that what you might say adds no value, even to yourself. Negative people have a knack for pulling others into loops of argument, explanation, or rebuttal. They use words as weapons to provoke reactions. A snide remark, a veiled criticism, a calculated coldness, all designed to unsettle you. Instinctively, you respond, aiming to defend or restore fairness. But the moment you react, they've half won. They don't need to be right. They just need you off balance. Silence is an invisible, yet powerful shield. It deflects incoming emotional arrows, creates distance from situations trying to drag you down, and keeps you calm, composed, and in control. By staying silent, you deny others the power to steer you with their emotions. You hide your vulnerabilities from hasty reactions. You avoid needing to retract words spoken in anger. Stoics saw silence as a living art. They knew not every thought needs voicing, not every truth requires proclamation, and not every emotion should be shared. Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we speak." This applies not just to communication, but to handling conflict. While the world roars, your inner space can remain still if you stop reacting and simply observe. Silence isn't empty. It's a weighty, quiet response. When someone attacks and you meet them with a calm gaze, saying nothing, they feel the strength in your non-response. When someone demands an answer and you smile, nod, and walk away, you show you're not playing their game. In a society where everyone overspeaks, the one who stays silent at the right moment stands out. But silence must be practiced rightly, not as avoidance or suppressed emotion, but as a conscious choice. You stay quiet because you've assessed that words won't help, won't foster understanding, won't ease tensions, won't lighten your heart. They'll only exhaust you. Silence born of awareness, not fear, becomes inner strength. Silence works as a shield in many scenarios. When provoked, when explanations would worsen a misunderstanding, when facing someone who must always win, or when you're losing patience and risk regrettable words. In those moments, a pause, a deep breath, and mindful silence can keep you whole. Silence also lets you observe more. When you're not busy speaking, you hear better. Not just others' words, but your own emotions. Silence is space for wisdom to work, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It gives time to choose weighty words over careless ones. Sometimes it shows you don't need to speak at all. Just be present, strong, steady, and calm. If you've faced a moment where silence preserved your composure and dignity, hit like to honor the power of restraint. Share in a comment a time you chose silence over reaction and its outcome. To keep building resilience against external noise, subscribe for the next parts. Sometimes speaking isn't the answer. Holding back is how you stay most intact. Number 9, keep your emotional thermostat internal. Imagine your emotions as an inner thermostat, regulating your mental state amid external fluctuations. If you let the outside world set your internal temperature, you'll spend your life chasing its erratic shifts. Others are happy, you feel fine. They're upset, you're uneasy. They praise you, you're elated. They criticize, you crumble. You become a thermometer reacting to others' emotional climate instead of a thermostat actively setting your own. That's why you must keep your emotional thermostat internal. Most people don't notice they're living tethered to others' moods. We say, "He made me furious. She hurt me. That news ruined my day." These seem harmless, but reveal a dangerous truth. We're handing control of our emotions to others or circumstances. Do this long enough, and you lose touch with your true feelings. You're swayed, shaped, and adjusted as if you're a product of your environment rather than its master. Keeping your emotional thermostat internal means you're aware of your feelings, observe them, and regulate them from within. Not waiting for someone to fix you. When treated poorly, you don't instantly rage. When rejected, you don't let it define your worth. When praised, you appreciate it, but don't lose balance. Your emotions become steady, like water unmoved by small stones tossed in. Stoics saw emotional regulation as a pinnacle of personal freedom. They believed letting others dictate your feelings enslaves you mentally. Epictetus said, "It's not events that cause suffering, but how we think about them." This simple yet profound idea unlocks emotional mastery. Instead of letting feelings flare reflexively, pause, examine your thoughts, and respond intentionally. This doesn't make you cold or numb. Those who stay steady amid chaos feel more clearly and deeply without emotions clouding reason. They can grieve without drowning, anger without spiraling, or disappoint without losing resolve. It's the art of living inwardly, undominated by external noise. Start by spotting moments when others flip your emotional switch. When someone's words spark a strong reaction, pause and ask, "Why am I reacting? Did I just hand them my emotional remote?" If so, take it back. You don't need to argue or fume. Just remind yourself, this feeling is mine, and I'll handle it to stay balanced. Another tool, use inner affirmations when you feel pulled off center. Instead of thinking, "She's making me livid," try, "I'm feeling anger rise, but I choose how to respond." Shifting internal language from passive to active reclaims control. You don't deny emotions. You just don't let them steer your life. Mastering your emotions lightens life. You avoid petty disputes, don't let a negative comment ruin a good day, and stop swinging between others' moods. You live in self-command, not because life got easier, but because you grew stronger inside. If you've ever been swept by others' emotions, forgetting your own control, hit like for a wake-up. Share in a comment a moment you reclaimed emotional control and how it empowered you. To keep building resilience against external pressures, subscribe for the next parts. Your emotions are precious, and you hold the key to managing them daily. Number 10, create sacred routines that refill you. In a world that constantly drains your energy with news, work, others' demands, and invisible emotional tolls, you'll burn out unnoticed if you don't actively replenish yourself. We often wait until we're exhausted, overwhelmed, or stuck to seek recovery, but healing isn't just for crises, it's something to build beforehand. The most effective way is creating personal rituals, sacred routines that recharge your spirit daily. Rituals might sound religious or formal, but here they're simply actions done regularly with full presence and a deep intent to nurture your inner self. These aren't mechanical habits, but private, quiet, purposeful moments where you pause to connect with yourself and refill your depleted energy cup. A ritual could be waking early before the world stirs, sitting in silence to write 3 things you're grateful for. It might be savoring a hot tea slowly, feeling warmth spread through your hands. Perhaps it's a 15-minute walk without earbuds or screens, just you, your breath, and rustling leaves. Or shutting off devices after 9 p.m. to read a few pages under soft lamplight. These small acts done daily with full presence become a lasting source of mental nourishment. You can't live strongly if you neglect your inner roots. A tree grows tall only with deep roots, and so do you. Each day pulls you in many directions, demanding roles like employee, parent, friend, or partner. But no one hands back what you give. You must do that yourself. Personal rituals are how they remind you, I deserve care too. Not after tasks are done, now. Stoics understood rituals' value. They didn't use self-care as we do, but lived with disciplined, consistent acts to keep their minds clear. Marcus Aurelius wrote each morning in his journal, reminding himself that he'd face irrational, selfish, unjust people, and his job was to stay unlike them. That was his ritual, a small, intentional act to reset his mindset, preparing him for a turbulent day without losing his way. You don't need a 5 a.m. wake-up, 10-mile run, 30-minute meditation, and 3-page journal if it stresses you out. Pick one small act that truly nourishes you and repeat it with reverence. The key isn't length or grandeur, but consistency and meaning. Even lighting a scented candle while working, if done daily with intent to calm your mind, can become sacred. A vital note, don't let distractions hijack your rituals. Be fully present. Don't meditate while checking your phone or read with the TV blaring. Give that space wholly to yourself. If you're absent even during recovery, you'll still feel empty despite doing it right. Healing comes not from the act, but from connecting with yourself through it. If you're rushing through life without time to recharge, hit like to pledge creating that space for yourself. Share in a comment one small act you'll turn into a personal ritual starting today. To keep learning to nurture your spirit quietly, calmly, and intentionally, subscribe for the next parts. If you don't fill yourself, you'll spend your life chasing what you already have. You just haven't taken time to cultivate it. Number 11, walk away when peace becomes impossible. Some relationships exhaust every effort you make. You listen, stay patient, empathize, adjust your behavior, even sacrifice comfort to keep the peace. Yet you realize nothing improves, no change in them, no ease in talks, no calm restored. Despite your best attempts, the connection leaves you drained, stressed, and quietly wounded. That's when you must bravely face a hard truth. When peace is impossible, walking away protects your inner life. Walking away isn't failure, it's self-respect. It's not giving up, but refusing to stay where you're disrespected, unheard, or unsettled. Some people, no matter how hard you try, always demand more. They don't seek to understand you. They want you to serve their expectations, fears, or emotions. If you don't comply, they guilt trip you. Such ties stop being mature exchanges and become emotional shackles, steadily depleting you. A common mistake is believing you must push to the absolute limit before withdrawing. But the limit isn't when you can't try anymore. It's when you see more effort won't change a thing. That's your cue to stop. Staying in a dead end only erodes your mind, energy, and sometimes dignity. Stoics didn't advocate quitting lightly. They valued discipline, perseverance, and commitment. But they were clear about guarding inner peace. They taught that if a person, situation, or relationship consistently strips your dignity, clarity, or ability to live by your values, you must leave, not to escape, but to preserve your best self, the part that shouldn't be endlessly hurt just because you fear seeming selfish. Leaving takes immense courage. You'll be misunderstood, judged, and feel empty for a while. But that's the price of reclaiming your mental space. In that emptiness, you find room to rebuild what you truly need. A life free of exhaustion and defensiveness, where you don't tiptoe around words or play a role to be accepted. Leave with awareness, not anger. No need for harsh words or dramatic exits. Quietly withdraw, respond less, be present less, then vanish from that space. Those who need to understand will. Those who don't are no longer your concern. You don't owe explanations for needing peace. Just live so peace shapes your choices. After leaving a toxic space, recovery takes time. You'll feel adrift, doubtful, or tempted to return out of loneliness. Be patient. Each day without tension restores lost energy. You'll see leaving isn't just an end, it's a beginning. A new chapter, a new self, a new life where you can be you unapologetically. If you've ever left a relationship, situation, or environment to save yourself, hit like to affirm your strength. Share in a comment a time you walked away for peace and the lesson learned. If you're at the edge of a tough choice, knowing you must let go to live again, subscribe to stay with me. Sometimes effort isn't courage. Letting go at the right moment is the start of true freedom. You've just explored 11 principles to shield your energy from negative people, not by confronting, arguing, or fixing them, but by keeping your inner world clear, awake, and bounded. You can't control the world or change everyone, but you can always choose who enters your mental space and who doesn't. You can opt out of pointless battles, say no without justifying, stay silent instead of reacting, and above all, choose yourself daily. Living with full energy isn't about isolation or apathy. It's about staying conscious enough to not be derailed by others, preserving your inner light to keep loving and giving without self-harm. Apply even a few of these principles and you'll soon feel lighter, stronger, and clearer on your life's path. If this resonates, hit like to hold on to this positive energy. Comment below on the principle that struck you most or the one you need to apply. Share this video with loved ones. They might need a mental shield too. Subscribe to stay with us for more content to keep you steady daily. Your peace isn't a luxury, it's your birthright, and you can protect starting today.